Anti-derivative Jill.
There she is. There she is.
But stay frosty and alert.
If you don't step your commie ass back from that hatch, I'm gonna come over there and smash you down!
Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. We're here for our next For All Mankind review for Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations. And we're looking at Season 3, Episodes 5 and 6 for All Mankind. The first one's called 7 Minutes of Terror and New Eden. And of course, 7 Minutes of Terror is really cool because that's really real NASA terminology, which of course isn't surprising to see here. And we get more of the incredible storytellings, more dramas, but also more importantly, we get to Mars. So that's a lot of fun. And here to help me discuss these episodes, we have Philip, who is also known as Fleet Admiral Levi, here on YouTube. Hello.
Howdy, folks. I'm
Oh,
Phil, and I'm here to guide you through these next couple episodes. I'm really looking forward to talking about them.
Yeah, me too. And I want to thank DJ Play Nice for swinging by. Yeah, well, I guess it was several hours ago, but he wanted to say hello, so that's very nice of him. And then there was Snortopoopas Cuber, who is here. And hello, Snorty, how are you? And so this show is very good at integrating the plot lines, and I like the way the story is developed in terms of it actually seems like the author is going somewhere. There's a lot of times where shows have these kinds of serial arcs and they're kind of just making it up as it goes along, but you know that there's planning in this show. Very obvious. And so I do enjoy that. It's good to know that they know where their character's going. All the best stories have authors who do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a panel, a couple years ago, they were saying that when they were developing the series, they had a 7-season outline about where they wanted to go with it. And I mean, I do like that it's
7 seasons.
Yeah, 7-season plan.
You can't pretend that this isn't a Star Trek show. 7 seasons. That's a bit of a very familiar to us. Most Star Trek shows have 7 seasons. Well, the real ones anyway, except for Enterprise and the original series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to say what is real Trek and what isn't, but I will say that
I am.
Trek from the 90s was definitely more prone to 7 seasons than not. I think the cast of Enterprise were on the impression they were going to get 7, but they didn't.
Yeah, they should have. And of course, Ronald D. Moore worked on 90s Star Trek. Yep. And so this episode that we're going to talk about today, is called 7 Minutes of Terror. It's the 5th episode of Season 3, first aired on July 8th, 2022. It ran for 63 minutes. I guess that doesn't really matter. Usually I don't read that part. But the time frame is the early 1995. Okay, so we did, of course, we moved ahead just a little bit. With the writer Sabrina Almeida and directed by Andrew Stanton. So the brief synopsis on the wiki is: the race to land first on Mars brings together unexpected allies. And of course, we already know that Danielle's crew with the Phoenix saved the Russians, whose ship became suddenly irradiated by their own engines, and everything just went kablooey for them. So they needed to be saved. And they were in the last episode. And this episode begins with a funeral very much in the tradition of having a funeral at sea, but in space. And Danielle is referencing Dr. Martin Luther King saying he observed that there is democracy in death. We all die, whether we're old or young, rich or poor, innocent or guilty. But we need not despair, because death is not the end. It's only the beginning. And then she asks if Commander Kuznetsov has anything to say. And he has something good to say too. This is a really good display of camaraderie between the U.S. and Russia, having this funeral, between the two. And he says, grief, though it is difficult, can also be a gift. Yes, we have lost Oleg Sidorov's body, but what we have left behind to mark, but what he had left behind. Wait a minute. But we have what he has left behind to mark our loss. Excuse me. And now we have been granted this moment to say goodbye, farewell, dear comrade, farewell. And so I only read that because it's a good bit of diplomacy between both of them, and I enjoyed that bit.
It's pretty good.
And they find themselves having this burial in space, and I guess maybe this person said this is how they want to be buried, and they don't want to be buried on Mars or sent back to Earth. And so I'm just guessing that hopefully they're following this man's wishes to whatever extent it is that he said, with what to do with him if anything happened to him in space.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think typically there is like sort of a burial at sea sort of thing that you do, but yeah, I don't know if there was any. I mean, I'm not sure if any astronauts have like a. I'm pretty sure they do some sort of a will and trust drawn up just in case, because I mean these things definitely run the risk all the time of sort of literally blowing up in your face. So
It's true. And well, one thing we do know is that before trips they record messages to their loved ones if anything should happen to them. So I'd imagine what to do with their dead bodies is also something that they've put down on paper somewhere. And so, like what I said before at the end of season 2, I wanted Russia and the US to get over themselves and work together. And so this is what happens when that is kind of forced. It was kind of forced. They didn't do this willingly. They just kind of had to. But here they
yeah, I
are.
mean, I like how they're forced to work together because I mean their ship kind of takes a dump on them, so they have to like kind of double up on the Sojourner, and obviously this is ripe for conflict, and that's always good. I also want to point out that the director of this film or this episode, Andrew Stanton, is also the director of the film Wall-E. So I just think that's interesting factoid.
Wall-E. Hey, no, that's a fantastic factoid. Wall-E is wonderful.
Yeah,
That's a great Pixar movie. And
yeah, it's a favorite.
So Ellen Wilson, she's honoring the everybody who died in the last episode. And this is just a news broadcast. I didn't really have a lot of notes for this, but it's nice. Look at those little flags. Margot, who has been secretly partnering with the Russians through Sergei this entire time, must be feeling some animosity after the KGB forced her to give them some sort of engine specs at the threat of Sergei's life. And she's got to be feeling something. You can definitely see it going on her face. Gosh.
Yeah, because now that the two space programs are working together, now the actual personnel from the Russian Mission Control have to show up at American Mission Control and work together. And so now there's a little, not only do we have this added context that, Margot's been working behind the scenes to, kind of assist them in certain ways that, now there's this other added level of tension between that and the Russians.
Yeah, this is gonna blow up for her somehow, and I'm waiting to see what's going on. Director Katish, new character. She's asking for help since, of course, they lost all their equipment. They lost their module, they lost their habitat, they lost everything. So they're gonna need drones, rovers, laboratory equipment, and maybe even you can help us with the satellite. so yeah, thanks for saving our lives, but now also we want all your stuff. And Margot says, okay, but only if I can work with Sergey. And that's that thing.
It's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, I think so. But at first I thought they were going to say he's dead or something, but he's still alive somehow. And yeah, Margot has to deal with all that. And Ed has done something really cool. He's figured out how to retake control of the ship, which of course I always love the displays on these ships. They look really wonderful. Good work on this stuff. I still like them.
Yeah.
And Nick has fooled the computer into thinking Dev's new system was corrupt, so they installed the older backup version and went into safe mode. So that safe mode, it doesn't have Dev's overrides, because when he realized that Ed was going to want to be in control, he put overrides so that he could take over the ship. So Nick has reversed all those changes and severed the uplink so that they can't take back the ship. So now Ed is completely in command of the Phoenix. It's just too bad he couldn't do it in time to save more of the people from the last episode. Fewer lives might have been lost if that were the case, but it's well, and Dev doesn't even say a hell of a lot in this episode, but it's a good thing that Ed's in charge now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, Ed sends a message to Dev that he's dishonored the ship and crew, and Ed's going to wash that stain clean. Snortopoopus Cuber says, I'm near the projected landfall of the hurricane, but in a non-evac zone. I bet I will lose power sometime tomorrow afternoon and will be out for quite some time. Oh no. That's terrible. And I'm supposing you don't have a generator or something to that effect. If that's a concern.
It's kind of surprising that they would consider you in a non-evac zone if you're going to lose power.
Or if you're in the path of the hurricane, hopefully you're not in danger in any way. Why is it non-evac?
Some of what I've been seeing on online seems to suggest that it's going to maintain its strength since the pressure is constantly lowering, so that means it's going to be strengthened. So that's not great, but I hope you're going to be safe out there, Snortopoopus, because it's we don't deal with hurricanes here in California, so
I do.
My heart goes out to people who do.
I do, and I'm in the Gulf Coast, and so hurricanes do make it this way. And if I don't know what no evac zone even means. If I see a hurricane coming my way, I just go to San Antonio, or I move on. I take my family north. I don't know. I don't mess around with hurricanes, but I hope you're in a safe spot, Snortopoopus. And that you're watching the storm closely. And please be safe. We need our bear. Thank goodness. But we are talking about this. Let's see. Oh, so Devin, seriously? Oh, yeah, no. I mean, if I ever liked him at any point, that's pretty much gone now. He's blaming the deaths on some notion that, oh, the other ships weren't as good as my ship. And I'm not responsible that they lost people. I didn't tell them to move up their launch date, and this isn't my fault. It's like, come on, what, really?
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it's really not my fault because I asked everybody their opinion, and they're the ones who chose not to save the Russians. And Karen understandably quit. She says everybody in that room worships you, so all you had to do was telegraph that decision that you wanted, and they just delivered it. So, I mean, she comes back though. It's kind of like, okay, it kind of takes away the power of her quitting when she just comes back anyway. But she does quit here. And well, because I think it's just it's kind of disarming that since Dev is so calm that you don't notice his megalomania until it actually happens.
Yeah, and I think even now, having watched, pretty much up to date, um, yeah, I don't know if I would call Dev like a hero or a villain. He's something like in between, and it's kind of fascinating to watch.
Well, yeah, and I could definitely see something that he could do to redeem himself. He is somebody who does change when he learns something new. He's not immalleable. So I can see something in that, but right now he's not so good. Well, and especially since you say that, you're basically telling me that he's going to do something that's not so
Well, I'm
bad.
trying to stay as vague as possible, but I do think where we end up next season is going to be surprising. So I'm curious to see what you think when we get there. But yeah, this whole little interaction is interesting because you have Kelly and this guy Alexei, who might be, you know, hitting it off a little bit.
Alexei Politov, yes,
Mhm.
they connect pretty quickly. He was the one who called Kelly for help. He's the one who basically saved his ship by calling
Mhm.
Kelly. And Danielle gets an encouraging call from her stepson. And then Aleda's having a breakthrough after this scene. She's focus on what you can do now. Yes, it's good advice. But Aleda's having a breakthrough, and we get a cameo from the TI-82.
Mhm.
There it is, TI-82 calculator. She's she's found out the Russians have her engine designs, and she thinks that they were stolen. And of course, this whole time, Margot is lying to her this entire episode. Oh, saying they could have come up with similar solutions, but Aleda saying, wait, no, these solutions are 0.3% within the range of her calculations. So Margot deflects to the fact that they're closing in on Mars. Let's concentrate on Mars. And let's focus on that instead. Yeah, but Margot's taking measurements. She's figuring this stuff out. That something's got to give eventually with this. She's cracked the code here. She's figured out what's happening. There it is. He's yeah. Of course, she doesn't know of Margot giving secrets to the Russians just yet. But she says something like, "Oh, what is it? Something about an enemy. Once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, and 3 times is enemy action." That's it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's great.
So on the hello to Greek letters. Privyet Tarvarich Space Explorers. I don't know.
Mm. I
That's
forget
a
what
private.
that translates to from Russian.
Mm-hmm. But since Alexei has a background in nuclear thermal propulsion theory, then he's gonna have to help with the problems that seem to be occurring with the engines. The engines for the Sojourner aren't doing so great. They're experiencing some difficulties, so he's gonna help with that. And Kelly's gonna help get him familiar with their systems. But as we're going to see, he doesn't need too much help because they're basically the same engines, almost, sort of, just a couple years off the design. So they complete the burn and they're about to unfurl the sails again to make it to Mars. And so they're doing a diagnostic. Alexei's going to do the diagnostic, obviously. So Karen calls Ed to tell him how him doing the right thing inspired her to quit Helios, while Danny is sulking nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Okay, so did I get it? Yeah, that freaking look on his face. You want to strangle him, but also he makes me laugh a bit. It really is, seriously, enough is enough. Danny quit being an insane, creepy stalker. But no, he doesn't quit. Hey, Reba Bell is here, he says. What's up, Pussy Nation? Yeah, it's so good to see you, Reba Bell. But I don't know. Danny needs to get some mental help when he gets back home.
I mean, to say the least, Danny needs a lot.
Greek Engine says engine failure in space can be somewhat problematic. You can't get out and push or something. Yeah, you gotta hope you're already on enough inertia to get where you're trying to go. I don't know. And Danny being creepy.
That's pretty much his only character trait is creepy.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, even with that, something like of a friendship is coming back with Ed and Karen, but I don't really care about that because she's still not being honest with Ed. So none of that really matters. The whole friendship seems to only exist to make Danny furious. But I did love. Okay, since you're only seeing the slides, you don't see the actual cinematography of it. But I think it's really beautiful the way they did the transition from outside the Phoenix to the inside of the, I don't know, the spinny corridors. And so Danny talks to Nick. He's like, "Oh, how'd you get past Dev's lockout?" And so Nick basically gives him all that he needs to know in order to break into everybody's emails. So way to go, Nick. He's really great at cybersecurity. So he gives him the password. And so now that he knows the password is Rainbow, he's able to snoop on everyone's emails. But the only email he actually cares about is anytime it's corresponding with Ed.
Mm-hmm. Which only sends him further down his little, path of hatred for Ed and jealousy.
Yeah, I mean, so far he's just spying, but it doesn't help. It definitely doesn't. I don't know. The look on there's some really great acting from Danny's actor here. Oh, who acts for Danny? What's his name? It's Casey Johnson, and he doesn't even have to say a lot. You just see the murder in his eyes. Like he's angry. He
he
seems
does.
dangerous.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job of that. I think it's usually the mark of a really good actor when you can, you know, hate that character without having to, hate the actor, sort of thing. But I know there's some people who will
Oh,
still
yeah.
like hate the actor, even though it's like it's not they're that good at what they're doing. So
Yes, and that happens a lot of times, especially for children's programming. But I would hope grown-ups know to appreciate a good villain.
Mhm.
And I want to say hello, good morning to Lemon Pie. Yes, yeah, I hate Danny, but I don't hate. I don't have any reason to hate Casey Johnson. I don't know him,
Mhm.
but he's a good actor. So here, the next scene we had of Alexi and Kelly. They're working on testing the not Nova engines together. And Kelly learned Russian from Annapolis, and Alexi learned English from the rap and hip hop artist known as NWA. I cannot say what that means, but they have attitude. So he says
It's a
he
pretty good band. I recommend people listen to them. They're very good.
well, and he quotes the opening verse of their song "Express Yourself"
Hmm.
from their 1989 album Straight Outta Compton.
Hmm.
And then they get on the topic of how Kelly's from Vietnam and that he says she should go visit to see how Marxists take care of their people and how nobody's poor. And I think I officially like Kelly when she says, maybe because they were all killed. So, of course, she's learned that from history. And he's like, oh, whatever. But yeah, he's but anyway, that didn't stop them from appreciating each other.
Hmm. It's kind of like a sort of playful banter between the two of them, I suppose. But it's I forget how many months they have or weeks left they have until they're actually hitting Mars at this point.
They're almost there. So Margot's playing piano with her metronome. And I guess they just wanted to show us that she's got a digital one now. Anyway, Sergey's still alive. We see him. He's lost his hair. He's thinner. He has a terrible cough. So I guess it tortured. It wasn't outward. They attacked him internally. His I don't know if he's dying or what's going on with him.
Hmm. Well, they always call it it's a trope, the cough of death.
Well, if you're talking about tropes, the worst trope is when you cough but blood. That means you're about to
Hmm.
die. But he hasn't done the blood yet. So.
Well, that's the extreme example of that. But yeah, so far, um, at this point, we're given the impression that his situation isn't good, but it's not that bad either. So we're kind of left to wait and marinate on that.
Yeah, he's been punished for giving Margot too much sensitive information. He's apologized for having to lie to her for so many years. And Margot says she's going to try to get him an asylum, but he doesn't want that because his family could be harmed if that happens. The KGB are going to harm his family. So eventually she does realize she needs to get his whole family then. Fine. She'll
Hmm.
figure it out. She's Margot. We'll figure out. We'll see what happens with that. I can't wait to see how she does that. And yeah, he does not look good. And of course, Ed makes it to Mars. Phoenix is 3 days behind, but the race doesn't really matter too much anymore. Dev doesn't look as triumphant as he did when he thought he was winning legitimately at the start of the season. So does that mean he's feeling I don't know. Because he was just blaming it on everybody else just a minute ago. So I don't know what he's thinking. He's kind of unreadable.
Mhm.
Then so even though they're 3 days ahead, they can't just land on the planet because it's too dangerous. There are storms, there are dust storms at the landing sites that they've chosen, and the visibility is nothing. So they have no way to land at this moment. They have to wait. And so that's tells you what's gonna happen next. As soon as this dust storm showed up, I was like, oh, okay. Sojourner's gonna get to land first. And this is pretty predictable.
But it's
I
still
knew that.
interesting to see how that's going to turn out too.
Yeah.
We'll get to that obviously, but
Yeah, but it kind of takes away all the suspense and everything. It's like, oh, okay, never mind.
I think it's a different kind of tension or suspense that comes out when the moment actually does happen. But I think ultimately they're playing with this larger theme that um, ultimately it is kind of silly to have people try to race to be first to do this thing when everyone should kind of cooperate to do it. And so
Yeah, they are kind of making it childish, especially the end of this episode, which we'll get to. It's
yeah,
extremely well. That's why I played that clip that I did. It says it all, really.
yeah. I mean, at the very beginning, spoiler alert, folks, but yeah, we'll get
Mhm.
to that point because I think it's a really good
Well,
note
that
to
really
end
is
on
a
in that
spoiler.
episode.
As soon as you see the dust storm, you know what's happening. And so the dust storms are delaying the landing for the Phoenix's Popeye ship. And so they're just flirting a little bit more. He calls her beautiful. Do they kiss here? I think they probably do. I don't know. I'm not paying attention. Oh, this is the part that's important. They're excited that the word gets to the Sojourner that the Phoenix can't land because of the dust storm, which tells them they're still in the race. And she picks back up her pirate talk and calls them me hearties. Okay, yeah, there is a stupid kiss. And hello to
Stupid kiss.
Matt G. Well, I guess it's not stupid, but it's just like, okay, come on, you guys are working right now. And you're just like kissing. What are you kissing
Well, that's
for
why they
right
go behind a panel or something to do it.
now? Trying. Uh, no, I mean, I know I called it stupid, but it's pretty organic romance that's building between them, but it's kind of also, I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how they were able to pull it off with like just these, couple episodes, considering the fact that like we're kind of going through an entire relationship sort of truncated because we're trying to get to Mars and we're trying to do all this other stuff, and so they have to establish this stuff like as soon as possible, but also balance it out with making it as organic as possible.
Yeah, but they have a job to do, and hopefully they're focusing more on that than that.
Well,
But someone who doesn't have a job to do is Karen, because she's quit her job, and so since she's quit her job, she's invites Wayne over, and he makes some special goo balls for her.
mm,
Obviously full of THC.
hmm yeah,
So
but it's
I
not.
was just
If that's not the key ingredient when he comes around, then it's not real.
happy to see Wayne again. I'm just disappointed I didn't get to see Molly also. She should have come by too and showed off some of her paintings.
Hmm
Because apparently she paints now. And And well, and Wayne can give anyone some wisdom, so he passes on some of that. And well, I don't know what these goo balls had in it. I should have got a clip, a screenshot of what's in that pan, because I know that was a lot of butter. And I think I saw some olives, but I don't really know. Like, obviously, marijuana, but
Yeah.
I don't know what else he put in that to make his goo ball.
Well, whenever I find the ingredient, I should tell my dad to try to wrestle one up.
Eugene Bird is here. Hello, Eugene. He says, most women attract men with their appearance and dress. It only takes being considerate and nice to pull a man the rest of the way in. Hmm. But anyway, these goo balls are a nice little distraction. And it just seems like fun. And oh yeah, he's talking about how Karen must see her as a star of her own movie. Like everybody sees themselves as the star of their own movie. So that's part of the wisdom I was talking about. He's trying to help her find out what she should do. And so I guess he's kind of like he moves the plot along for her, and she comes up with some kind of idea later when she's not high. Because right now she's just stoned. You're not gonna come up with too much. So Danny is still spying on Ed's messages. Danny is watching one where Karen's admitting to being extremely stoned, and the look on Danny's face is so cold. Like I said, it looks dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Now I dislike him, almost as much as Karen now. But I appreciate both of these actors. It's just Casey Johnson, pretty great. It's pretty great at showing that he's a psychotic, delusional, creepy, obsessive person.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know where that danger that I see is going to go towards. Ed or Karen or Helios or something else is going to sabotage something. This danger
Maybe a combination of all of them. We will find out.
Oh boy. And if that's not enough, Ed invites him to play some cards.
Mm-hmm.
You may just have to try one of those desserts. I don't know. I think they might be more savory than desserty. Oops. Oh, I thought that was a beep, like a StreamYard beep, but it was just a glass or something. But Ed invites him to play cards, and he reminisces about Gordo and how Shane might be there with him too, because Shane, when he was a kid, also wanted to be an astronaut. And Ed talks about being on a road to forgiveness with Karen, basically, even without knowing who she was cheating on him with, which of course means she's still lying to him all the time. But their closeness seems to be clouding over that little detail. And Ed says, forgiveness is a long, hard road, Danny, but at the end, it's grace. And Danny starts prying, pretending he doesn't know a damn thing. And did she ever tell you who it was? Ed says, doesn't matter. And Danny says, yeah, I guess not. But if you ever found out, think you could forgive him? Ed says, if I ever found out who it was, there'll be nothing left of him but a greasy spot on the carpet. So much for grace and forgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
I mean, you can kind of see, Danny's look of, like, oh shit, I'm fucked. if he finds out. But
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that,
Yeah, seeing him scared, it's pretty good. Good expression of emotion there. But at the same time, I hate this story thread. I just can't wait for it to be done.
I mean, it definitely does its purpose, which is add to the drama, add to the tension.
Nah, I hate it.
But how it manifests is sort of, it doesn't always work for me, but it works when it needs to.
They do their best with it. If they weren't such great storytellers, I would be more upset at it. At least it's kind of amusing at the same time. So they've achieved that much. And the Phoenix has arrived. And so Margot is talking about how they lost all but 2 of the 15 probes that they set to land on Mars, and how entry, descent, and landing are the 7 minutes of terror. That's what we call it. And so, yes, that's a real NASA term. The amount of time it takes to get from the very top of Mars' atmosphere all the way down to the surface of Mars from entry, descent, and landing. And of course, we hear about we hear about that, those 7 minutes of terror, every time we hear about a new rover that's landing on Mars, the Curiosity, Perseverance, and Opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say hello to James Caserta. How are you doing? Alita cannot get over the fact that the Russian engines are the same. She's bringing out these books. Look, they're engines. They're just like ours, but not our current ones. They're just like the ones we made in 1982. And so she's zeroing in on exactly what's happening.
And then Margot's just constantly trying to,
Gaslighter.
yeah, and lead her down different paths that obviously are dead ends, but yeah, it's quite fascinating.
So, but Margot is just not going to be honest with her right now, even though Alita caught on to the ruse here, or she knows somebody in NASA has given up these plans to the Russians. It's only a matter of time before she's demanding to a little help with figuring out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point, I don't think she suspects that it's Margot that's the rat, but yeah,
She does not at all suspect Margot.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
knows something's wrong, though. She knows somebody. She suspects somebody. And so now on top of that, you've got Russians, walking all over NASA, and she's like, "Oh my god!" Now she's starting to get a little paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Alita has no clue what's happening.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it would be really weird if Alita does find out that it's Margot. It's because they have kind of a strange, a mixed up past and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, my hope is that Margot's going to figure out how to just, stick it to the KGB and save Sergei's family. But it might involve her having to confess. So I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see what's going on there.
And again, I wish I could tell you, but I can't. But I think when you find out, you're going to be very surprised at what the route they ended up going down.
Yeah. Well, yes. Oh, wow. This doesn't happen very often, that I get a new subscriber while we're talking during a live stream, and it's always exciting when it happens. So I want to thank Think so think Mac Greergore Brown. And I apologize profusely if I'm mispronouncing this name. Let me see if I can figure out how to pronounce it. And so, whoa! And not only that, somebody's joined us. It's Lance from the Outcast Creative.
Are we
Hey,
at Happy? Are we at Happy Valley yet?
we're almost there. We're almost at Happy Valley.
I'm working very hard on my book here, trying to meet a deadline. But I thought I'd pop in for a little bit because I've missed most of them because I've been working hard on this book. So,
Well, if you've got to work hard on your book, then I don't want to stop you from
it's break time.
achieving.
It's break time. So this is my break.
Books
Okay,
are
good
a
news.
challenge, but good
Yeah,
luck.
I got to get it out for the 1st of December. So I've just finished my write-up of Star Wars, kind of related. So there we are. Yeah. So what episode are you on at the moment?
Okay, so we're on 7 Minutes of Terror. So they're
Oh
about
yeah.
they're about to take their risky landing. So you're just arriving while Aleda's figuring out that there's some kind of somebody who's betrayed NASA, but she doesn't know who it is. Somebody's given the Russians her engine plans. She keeps calling them her plans.
I know who it is.
Everybody except Aleda knows who it is.
Yeah. And then 3 people were killed in the previous episode, if I remember rightly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you got this is quite a tense moment. Yeah.
Mhm. Right.
So-
in the rescue, because it would have been more people except for Alexei did ask Kelly for help, and so the Sojourner was able to save some of the Russians
Yeah.
from their ship.
Yeah, that's quite a sort of interesting moment of space politics as opposed to Earth politics, isn't it? The decisions and repercussions and arguments that go back and forth about that whole moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good.
And so they're showing us a graphic here on how the ships will orbit Mars, and then there's a certain point during the orbit where they can make a decision whether to land or not, or to take another orbit. Night launches were bright. Perhaps you've seen one from home. No, I haven't.
I saw a shuttle launch when I was in Florida. So that was unfortunately that was the one that crashed on re-entry.
Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia. But I saw the Columbia launch. I was in the States when it launched. We went to watch it a couple of times because it was delayed the first time we went to see it, so nothing happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad you finally did.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen a launch. I should go see one day. Eugene Bird says to Snortopoopas, this week only. I'm sorry you live in the Sunshine State. I hope Milton stays south, Milton being the hurricane. I used to live in Cocoa Beach next to Cape Canaveral, and the elevation was only 8 feet. The track is uncertain at this point, says Snortopoopas.
Yeah, that's actually where we watched the launch from. It was from Cocoa Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nice.
I think the only reliable model on hurricanes, I think, is the European model. So if that one's track is going to probably end up being the one that it ends up taking. So hopefully that's, I haven't looked at it, so I'm not sure what the model sets, but hopefully everybody stays safe out there.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been following that. Been following that from here. It seems pretty devastating.
Yeah. Oh, can you guys give me just a second? I think I need help from my daughter.
Yeah, sure. We can fill it in quickly.
Yeah.
So you've seen this all the way through, haven't you? To the end of season 4, I think.
Yeah, I'm all caught up myself.
Yeah. It's whereas I'm remembering these episodes from when I watched them over a year ago.
Mhm.
But do you have a favorite character?
I mean, for me, I think like the one I love the most is Ed, but it's mostly because I feel like by the time this is all said and done, he's going to have the most growth of every character.
Yeah,
But
I like Ed and Danielle are my two
mhm.
favorites. And often they're, having a go at each other as well. So
Yeah, especially next season.
yeah, they've got a great camaraderie, but also, this, they really clash.
They're both wonderful, but I love Molly the most. I just want more of her, but I guess she's busy painting.
Molly,
Well,
hmm,
yeah,
not saying anything.
yeah. I'd say we can't. We want to, but we can't. But
Nah.
But
what we can say is she will be back.
anyway, just to get to the landing on Mars,
Yeah.
as soon as the storm came up, even though Phoenix got there 3 days early, I knew it was going to be the Sojourner who was going to land first. So that took away that suspense. The only question was how it was going to happen.
Mm.
And so since the dust storm is lifting, they decide to take the risk. So they're going to take the Popeye down. And so they're going to head down even with the visibility not doing so great. And Danielle is worried about that visibility. So she's about to take them on another orbit until at the very last couple of seconds, with few seconds to spare, she sees the visibility improving enough to where she could risk it. And so she does go for it. And then at the same time, we have Ed, who's the Popeye's lost its gyroscopes and it's incredibly dangerous. And somebody's told him that they might want to consider aborting. And basically, he gets a flashback. He sees a vision of himself not landing the Apollo 10, and he decides not to risk it and goes back to orbit. And so
Yeah,
that's what happens during this.
he sacrifices his possible chance to be the first man on Mars, or one of the first people on Mars, out of abundance of caution for Danny, which is amazing to me. And then I think there's a shot of them like pulling up right basically when they were going to land, and it's like, oh shit! If they would have gone any further, they would have probably not have been the first people. They would have been the first people to die on Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Ed didn't want to be the first ship to smash on Mars.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also his concern.
This is interesting because I firmly believe and hope that I'll see a manned mission to Mars in my lifetime. That's the thing I want to see while I'm still here. So, this whole episode was really kind of felt very real. It felt like, this is the sort of thing that could play out. It could play out like this, these kinds of decisions. That's what I like about the show. I always feel like I'm getting a taste of what might be coming in reality.
Yeah, and hoping that the people who are piloting these kinds of missions are thinking about the safety of the astronauts rather than who's first or whatever. So what Ed does here is really responsible.
Yes, Richard Branson.
Even if it's not as exciting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Safety first.
Well, I mean, it was Elon Musk who said that when he wants to be the first man to die on Mars, just not on arrival.
Right. That's interesting.
And it's really well done too. It does pull you in as something that could be realistic, and that's why you think, okay, this can happen, because it really it does look really great.
In my own personal opinion, there is an alternate reality somewhere in the multiverse where it played out exactly like this.
Maybe with different characters, but possibly.
Well, maybe without Danny Stevens.
Yeah, I could do without Danny Stevens. So of course Danielle and the Sojourner, they make it to they land first. And so I guess I don't know. Like, do you think if Ed tried to go for it, do you think he would have crashed? Is that what we're supposed to believe? Like,
Yeah.
or do you think he could have made it?
No,
Or do you
they
think
would
that
have both been killed.
you know, the mountains that are jumping out at us, where they are warning that wasn't a good idea to land?
Yeah, it wasn't a good idea. Would not have worked.
Nevertheless, even if it was the right call, Ed and Danny, they're not too happy.
No.
Yeah, but they should be happy. Humanity has landed on Mars. Somebody's landed on Mars. Somebody. It doesn't matter. Well, I guess it does matter. They're first, but
Well,
at the same
I
time,
mean, they all still arrived at Mars. They all still got there. So, you know.
right. He's not ready to celebrate yet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have. I didn't really get. I don't really get clips for the show, but I had to get this one.
If you don't step your commie ass back from that hatch, I'm gonna come over there and smash you down!
Oh yeah, this is the fight to be first on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She said, "I'm going first. That was the deal," and he says, "I remember no such deal."
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they both kind of end up having a scuffle, don't they? And they sort of fall on the earth simultaneously.
Well,
How inspiring!
I do love how they actually. There's no chance that there's any way to find out who set foot first because they both hit the ground at the same time. So it's timed exactly right, and then they go and tumble on the ground, and yeah, that's the first little experience on Mars.
And they never agree. Even later on, when they're having their interviews about it, they say it's like, "Oh, I was first."
They're going together. How inspiring!
It's great.
Yeah, it's funny the way it's interpreted on Earth. It's they're so joyful, they've fallen over, and they're having fun.
Only they knew.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the story. They were just tumbling. It was just, innocent horseplay. Nothing. They weren't fighting at all. First flat people on Mars. No. First tumble on Mars. First wipeout on Mars. James Caserta says, "What a bummer." Oh, Columbia crashed on my birthday. Oh, yeah, that's not a good birthday. Sorry, James.
Mm-hmm.
The Mars rover found cigarette butts and crushed beer cans. Damn dirty Martian pig apes. They would after this episode. Eugene Bird says there are videos of the astronaut conversations inside Columbia as it's breaking up. They're apprehensive and there's nothing they can do but cross their fingers. Yeah. Gosh,
at least it was quick.
From a small step and giant leap in moon to Mars tumble. Yes. They've made it.
I think there's a line in Space 1999 where Commander Koenig basically says something about, the one giant leap being actually turning into like a stumble in the dark, and I think that's kind of a interesting idea as a concept.
Oh,
And
that sounds like a perfect description of this.
yeah, it's kind of applicable here.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about what happened on your birthday, James, but at least now I know your birthday. Let's see if I remember it.
Yeah, that's a great ending for that episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But, I hope Ed gets his win someday.
Maybe. I mean, I have a feeling that Ed's going to be the only character that survives the entire series other than Leda. And I think when we see him in season 7, he's going to be like 100 years old. And it's going to be amazing.
Oops.
Is it confirmed?
I did not mean to show that.
Is it confirmed that it's going to go to season 7 now?
I mean, that's what their plan was, is to get us to season 7, and I'm hoping we do. But yeah, like I said, I think Ed's going to be over 100, and he's going to be like having to do everything from like a wheelchair. It's going to be amazing.
Well, in 0G, you can get away with that wheelchair.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know how that would work on Mars. I mean, it is like a third Earth gravity, but even then.
Yeah.
DJ Knight is here. He says, "Wow, that is a fantastic season." Oh, okay. And yeah, it was
to
it
Mars
was a good
halfway through
episode.
it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. I'm glad you're here, DJ Knight. And so we're going to continue these episodes. Yeah, impressive sets and graphics. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, really good. The production design is one of my favorite things about the show.
Mhm. Greek Letter says, "I don't think it's humanly possible to survive 7 seasons of space soap opera." The soap opera is a small element. Like it is actually, it's not that small. It's a pretty big element in For All Mankind, but they don't avoid space. I think that the drama is actually better integrated in this season than it was in the last one. It's where it doesn't bother me as much.
Apart from the first half of season 1, I've never really felt like this is a soap opera. It's never felt soapy to me at all. I've always felt that these are characters in a believable world on a mission, with passions and so on. And I want to find out what happened, where it's going. I get why people sort of might have watched some of season 1 and gone, this isn't for me, and this is a load of woke nonsense. And I have a feeling there were some competing agendas of what the show should be, but I think ultimately the right one has won out, and it's good.
Yeah, it is good. There were a couple of episodes in season 2, I think, that were frustrating me, where they're spending too much time on Earth, and it was getting a little dramatic, and it was just too much.
Well, I mean,
But
Ronald D. Moore's
that hasn't happened in this.
Yeah, Ronald D. Moore's whole thing has been like, he makes sci-fi shows that are dramas first, and I don't necessarily think that everything he does is soapy necessarily, but I do think when he's at the head of something, usually it goes down the right way. So
yeah.
So the main song that we hear at the end of the last episode was it was a cover of "I Can See Clearly Now" by the Screeching Weasel. So it's a punk rock band, punk rock cover. And so for the next episode of season 3 we're covering today is episode 6, called New Eden. It first aired on July 15th, 2022. We're still in the early 1995 time frame with writer Stephanie Shannon and director Andrew Stanton. And for this synopsis, it's the astronauts move quickly to build Martian bases. And so everybody is working together in some way. This is the Phoenix engines are fried from landing, so it's going to be up. Wait a minute, not the Phoenix. The Sojourner engines are fried from landing on Mars. So the Phoenix is going to be the one to take home the Russian and American astronauts and cosmonauts home when it's time. Of course, yeah. So the whole, even though they were racing before, now it's a matter of surviving together.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the whole episode's about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go on.
Danielle's addressing her crew that they need to get to their shelter before nightfall because temperature is going to be minus 100 degrees Celsius. Even though they're spacesuits, can't they handle minus 250 degrees Celsius? But I guess they don't want to have to worry about it. And Ed and Danny finally land on Mars, and they put their little flag, up. Like, hey, we're here too.
Yeah. There's
But
there's a subplot in this episode about the guy gets addicted to pain medication.
yes,
Danny. Right. And,
he's already an alcoholic.
Yeah, and he's like trying to steal strongest pain meds, isn't he? Because he's addicted to Vicodin, and yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that happens in this episode. Yes, Will is taking some extra time to admire the Martian surface, and we get the title New Eden. Oh, did we see it yet? No, okay, it hasn't. I want to make sure I don't miss it because there's something important coming up. But this looks really great too. I'd been waiting for this, and they didn't make me wait too long. I'm glad they don't make you wait to the end of the season before everyone gets to Mars. So we get to have some time on Mars before the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally land at the middle of the season, and then we're basically there for the remainder.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. The Padawannabe says, "Good day, all. I'm handing out thumbs." Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you for the thumb. Hopefully it's intact. And thanks for the like, Padawannabe. I'm glad to see you. Almost 30 years after we lost the moon, now we won Mars.
It's interesting that these scenes, when people shoot Mars, they normally go to the Middle East. To Jordan is the most common place that's doubled for Mars.
Mm-hmm.
But this was shot in southern Utah, around the Moab and Arches National Parks. So they did a pretty good job with that. I mean, obviously there'll be lots of special grading and visual effects and things, and no doubt a lot of deletion of certain iconic mountains or whatever in the distance, things like that. But yeah, it looks good.
Editing out of vegetation too.
Yeah, indeed. get rid of that flower quick.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you so much. I haven't really looked into that stuff too much. So thank you.
Right. That's the stuff I always look up.
That's usually the stuff I look up too. I know it sounds like I'm being defensive, but what I'm doing is I'm afraid of getting spoilers as I look that stuff up because it seems to be all together, and I'm afraid every time I'm just going to a wiki article of somebody's character, and a spoiler is right in the description of the character, and so
The scene where this character was killed it was shot at such and such. Yeah.
and it's just like, come on, I was just looking for the actor name, and so that's why I'm kind of avoiding production stuff right now. But whenever I finish season 4, I'm gonna go back and learn all that stuff. So I appreciate any time you have any production note you want to add, please do.
Sure.
Because I won't know it until after I finish reviewing. Because after I'm completely done with season 4, I'm gonna go back and watch all the extra features and things and interviews and things.
Oh, have you got the box sets?
I don't have the box sets. I just have Apple TV.
Oh,
Is there more? Are there more special features on the box sets?
I've only got the box set for the first season, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I only have the first season on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's more stuff on the physical media that's not on the streaming service, I should. I'll figure that out too. Oh, and Penny's here. She says, "Later, y'all. Putting grandson down for a nap. Enjoy time with your grandson." I recall an old sci-fi show where the Martians were living underground and tried to help Terran colonizers, but I couldn't recall the name, and the Martians were bald. So if anybody knows what sci-fi show that is, let us know.
I know what I think it is, but I don't know for sure.
Eugene Bird says valleys makes the Grand Canyon look like a backyard ditch, they say. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's pretty big, pretty long and tall. Although they say the tallest cliff face in the solar system is on a moon of Uranus called Miranda, and the cliff face is Verona Rupes. So basically, because of the low gravity there, if you fell off this cliff face, it'll take you like 12 minutes to fall to the bottom.
Yeah, I like these vehicles.
Love these vehicles too. This the Helios landing module habitat. This gives me some heavy UFO vibes. If you don't know what I mean, it looks like the Shadow Mobile.
Shadow, yeah. Yeah, now we just need all the crew in like strange string vests and strangely cut clothing and corduroy trousers, and the look will be complete.
Yeah, you wonder, are they wearing a bra under that shirt?
I used to have 4 of those, like miniature toy ones, where you had a rubber missile on the top.
Oh, nice.
The roof would like revolve round, and there'd be a missile launcher there. But I don't have them anymore.
Oh, too bad. Yeah. I really like them too. And so as soon as I saw that, as soon as I saw Helios module, I knew that's what I was seeing. I wonder if it was inspired by it or not. So Phoenix needs to generate methane fuel from water and elements in the Martian atmosphere in order to get back home. The news broadcast also says they've got to find water, create their own oxygen, set up their nuclear power generator, grow their own food, and also work, also be diplomatic with the Russians to survive. And one of the Russians inside the American module, they say, "I thought everything was bigger in America." And then they say, and then one of the Americans says, "Well, we could always stay in your habitat." Where is that again? Oh, right, it's floating out in space.
Yeah, that was a good line.
That's good.
But I like Will. He says, "Come on, y'all, we're on Mars. It's an adventure." And finding water, they're having trouble finding water, obviously. So they have to ration only half a gallon per day per person. It doesn't sound like they'll be able to drink any of that. They have to use it for drinking, for food, for sanitation. Gross. That's not enough water.
No.
And Daniel asks the commander, the Russian commander, to assign somebody to keep a tab on people's hydration. And then he's like, don't tell my crew don't give my orders to my crew. And then she asks him to do that, to assign someone to do that. And so he says, yeah. So there's already a bit of a struggle for power going on. Prequel origins of Trek, says James Caserta. Yes. Yes, I think so. Well, Greek letter says it was their planet, but when the Russians landed, it became our planet. DJ Knight says, Mark, it's easy. We simply have to repair the thermal control systems. That's their goal. And yeah, there we go. It looks pretty good. Heliospace. So they cut back to Heliospace. Ed is admitting to Karen that he didn't go for the landing because he was afraid of what might happen to Danny. So he was afraid for Danny's life and he felt responsible for him. And also, I think Danny seemed kind of distracted while he was in the Popeye. So maybe Ed didn't think he could.
Yeah, he's not 100%, is he? So.
Well, no, and he hurts himself here with the drill.
Yeah.
And discovers the joys of pills, but he knows what they are. He's very educated in what everything is because he rummages later on in those cabinets like a pro. And so he gets a cut in his suit, and he of course makes it back, but then they give him Tylenol with codeine in it, basically. And that starts his spiral. No one's like, oh yeah, wait, this guy's an addict. Should we just be giving him pills? And not really, no security for the stuff either, apparently. And then he gets a hissy fit and he leaves. Then Marco talks to the chairman of the Droid Chiefs, who happens to be someone we remember from earlier seasons, Bradford Nelson. And she wants help from him to relocate Sergei's family so that Sergei could safely defect from to the US without having to worry about his family being harmed by the KGB.
Yeah, I think that's more because Margot wants to be with him.
Yes.
I don't think she really cares about his family, to be honest.
But he cares about his family.
So that's why she wants to, get them for him. But she's doing it for herself mainly.
And that makes sense to me. But also, I thought she was also trying to get at the KGB. That's what I'm wondering. I think
it's kind of a two sort of pronged thing where she's trying to get back at the KGB, but she's also trying to save her friend / budding lover.
But what's going to happen when she confesses to having colluded with the Russians for all these years?
Well, you will see.
I guess so.
It's definitely worth it when it does happen, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and Aleda's still wondering how the Russians know their engine design and everything. She's still on that case, Nancy Drew. Karen makes it back to Helios, and she rejoins Helios, but only if she gets her own office this time, and also the title of COO, Chief of Operations, He's like, we don't have any titles, but she gets one. And
At that point,
he
it's just like
thinks,
she left to get her way.
yeah, I think she did leave because of the morality of the situation at first, but then she came back because of the potential profit.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks it's over because they didn't make it to Mars first. But she tells him that she has contacts with the Roscosmos, Lenara Katish, and that she wants a meeting with Helios. And yeah, and he had just finished yelling at all of his employees, or there was a very aggressive meeting that he was just in. So he's happy to see her coming back to help him. And so that we'll get back to that in a minute. Human beings are always going to want to see what's over the next hill. So they're just doing their cute little messages back home. And how they feel on being on Mars. And Will is feeling so free. He's feeling like anything is possible.
Yeah.
And
So he goes for it.
Yeah, he goes for it. Like, I guess they're broadcasting directly to Earth, and so there's no editing or anything that comes with this because he comes out and I wish I could say everyone rejoices and nobody really cares at all, but that's not what happens.
No. But I think the way that they portray it here is very, because he's kind of going through a version of the overview effect, but it's for, him wandering out and looking at the vistas of Mars and kind of like seeing something more than him. And so,
yeah,
that's kind of the justification for him bringing it up. And I feel like that's kind of the way it's set up in this episode. It's very organic, and so it works for me. But yeah, reaction on Earth is definitely not surprising, of course. But
he's inspired, but right, he's in the army, and it's not really allowed at this point in time.
I think we're in the 80s, aren't we, as well?
90s.
That was the 90s, mid 90s.
Is it? Yeah, so it's at the height of the HIV epidemic. People are still dying from it from all over the world, and that causes massive tension that he might have it, which is an absurd assumption because everybody would have been tested for that.
I think even Danielle brings that up.
Yeah, everybody would have been tested for that as a matter of course.
Right. And that for some reason still doesn't stop people from being prejudiced.
No, which it absolutely wouldn't. And I know what I'm talking about because my cousin died of it on my birthday. So in the 90s.
Sorry to hear that.
Funny enough, yeah, I was.
I'm sorry too.
And Mikael gave me my first ever Lego set, and and the medication was kind of in its infancy then, so it wasn't in time to save him. Right, I think he didn't want to take it because the first batches of medication basically killed loads of people. So it was interesting to see this storyline and the reaction. I think the reaction's pretty accurate to what would have happened, in my view.
Well, and it paralleled exactly. I didn't even expect it to happen in this episode like this, and even I write my notes as I'm watching the episode, so I put here, "Don't ask, don't tell" stays in place all the way until 2011. So I didn't even realize they were actually going to integrate that into this episode later on.
Yeah, because I don't even think that they had it in this timeline until this situation comes up and they create a version of it, and then
and So of course we see him as being brave for being willing to stand up for who he really is, but in this time period, he just sunk his career. He's gonna be discharged when he gets home, and of course, culturally, the '90s were a time of coming out of the closet, but it's just usually those people weren't in the army or NASA, and
But also for an African American to do that is like a massive no in that time. It's not even it's frowned upon now, you know, in especially in the actual African community, which is still incredibly homophobic in the Caribbean. You know, you there are places you go if you did that now, you'd be killed, quite frankly. So yeah,
Unfortunately.
yeah.
well, at least he's American. He has that going for him. So
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yay!
Yay, America.
that's no, I'm sorry. No, there are definitely places in the world right now where you'll get stoned for it. It's awful.
No
Here
joke.
you'll just probably get yelled at and get a lot of bad looks. At least in the cities. But
Well, and I was a kid in the '90s, and I was seeing all of this just from a cultural perspective, just watching it on TV and hearing people talk about it and joking about it. So,
But I think the point to be made is that the show handles it realistically. I think we're not given this sort of namby-pamby, oh well, you know, isn't he brave and great, and you know they reacted as they would have done, and there's a lot of vitriolic and backlash towards him. You probably would have had, if this had happened in reality, you probably would have had one or two other quite high profile people might have taken it as the moment to stand alongside him, but you know, I don't think there would have been that many, especially because of the height of the AIDS epidemic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there would have been somebody, but I'm glad that they don't pander on that, and they just stick to the relevant historical events, fictional historical events that are occurring. And with this politician staunchly on the fact that he's supporting his constituents who apparently 73% of them think it's wrong. So there's that. And of course, it didn't. I don't know if that's like based on a realistic polling of the average American in the 1990s or not, but that's what he references. And so he's really upset about it. But yeah, this would actually be Wilson's chance to stand up for others who are, for other people.
I mean, that would be. It's an enormous risk, but as I say, high risk, high reward sort of thing. But yeah, I want to say more about that, but we have to wait. We have a whole season and a half to go.
Oh, and Greek Letters remembers the sci-fi show he was talking about earlier, where the Martians are all bald and they're trying to help the Terrans.
Yeah, I was thinking it was. I think it was Martian Chronicles.
I rewatched that pretty recently, actually, and yeah, damn, that show has not aged well. And it's I mean, it's very faithful to the book on the one sense, but
wasn't it like TV movie style? Like
it was, yeah, budget? it was a pretty big budget for the time. It was like 4 parts because it was Rock Hudson was the lead, if I remember rightly, and it was like 4 or 5 parts over a couple of weekends. It was a big event in the UK. It was like heavily trailered, and I tracked it down. I think I actually watched it on YouTube. And thought, you know what, I want to see this as an adult, because I remember as a kid really wanting to watch it, thinking how exciting, a show about landing on Mars. And then the show really wasn't very exciting. And I watched it again as an adult, and it still wasn't exciting. It had great concepts, but it just
Mm.
as a gripping narrative, it just didn't work.
Yeah, I think I saw it once when I was a kid. I think they showed it on Sci-Fi Channel, and
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think I could get into it for whatever reason. Like, it wasn't like that it was a '70s sci-fi thing or anything. 'Cause, I mean, I love the original Battlestar Galactica in Space 1999, so it's not that. So it was, yeah, something else. What was
it
going on
was
with it? But
the big issue that the show had was that there are these scenes where the crew members are constantly flashing back to different timelines in their own narrative, which the Martians are making them relive. So they're not actually a reality; they're a reality that the Martians have created for them. But the way that that's explained, it isn't done very well. So as a kid, if you're watching it, you're like, "Where am I now? What's going on? I don't understand." And as an adult, you're probably thumbing through the pages of the book, going, "Which bit of this is the book? I don't understand." So, yeah,
right,
not
okay,
a great adaptation.
yeah.
So
So I shouldn't feel
confusing
bad.
narratives.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't feel bad then.
I did like the last 20 minutes. I did like the finale. I thought the finale was quite moving, but
Hmm.
ultimately it doesn't deliver.
Interesting.
Interesting. Well, I need to. I haven't seen that show, so I can't really comment on it. But I do need to thank Eugene Bird for the 1999 super sticker that he sent.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much. It's of it's a hippo. It's a hippo, but not just any hippo. It's a Borg hippo.
Interesting.
He's got a little mechanical arm and everything.
This gives me an idea. I think whenever I start doing a membership part of my channel, if anybody offers 19.99, it's gonna automatically have the theme song from Space 1999 popping. So
Well, which season? Season 1 or season 2?
season 1, we'll keep it that way.
Yeah. Wow. 1999. I will now do a sung rendition of the theme of Star Trek. Ah, there you go.
Thank you.
Special prize for you, Eugene.
Well, since
there
I'm
you go.
getting a Borg hippo, yeah, you got a unique song straight from Lance. Thank you. But also,
Very special time indeed.
I used to sing that theme all around the house as a kid. I'm sure my parents found it very endearing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I like it.
We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
Ah, the only good Star Trek: The Next Generation movie.
Oh, you went
Yes.
there, huh?
In my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah,
Unless
I mean, it's certainly the most entertaining.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't necessarily think
completely.
it's a great movie either, but it's at least I was
mean-
gripped. I was gripped.
Well, it was my first Star Trek movie I ever saw in person, so
Oh, well.
that's why that's special. But I think it is definitely not perfect.
No.
It's not perfect, but there are some fun moments.
I'm a big Alfred Woodyard fan as well, actually. So
Yeah, she's getting it.
Assimilate this.
Although it makes me wonder because
Keep playing that. So let's get away from those clips.
Well, I'm just saying because like right now in For All Mankind, we're in 1995, so 1996 is around the corner. So it makes me wonder in the For All Mankind universe because there really isn't even in season 4 kind of like elaborated on like what the franchise has actually done in this alternate timeline, and so I hope they kind of explore it eventually because I'm really curious to see how it either like expanded or contracted in this timeline. Because I mean, now that we are doing more and more space stuff, it would stand to reason that there's less of a drive for space-oriented stuff. Because now it's a reality, so it's like it's not something that's different.
Yeah. I don't know where they're going in their future, but it'll be great. whatever it is. If Ronald D. Moore stays in charge of it, I'll be interested.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, 3 more
Appalachian
seasons to go.
region also. What? Let's see. I'm looking to see where I am in the chat because sometimes I get a little mixed up after super chat. Let's see here. Let's see. Looks at the book. Oh yes, I see. Homosexual. The term is because it means gay. Okay, close book. Thanks, DJ Knight. I love the part in the Martian Chronicles where Spender becomes a Martian and Rox Hudson eventual meeting with the Martian is done. Oh. The synth tune for Space 1999 was amazing, says Eugene Bird. There was, oh, right. And Gavin Blackburn says, I remember when Freddie Mercury and George Michael came out and people were like, people just said, yeah, we know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the best kind of response. That's the one you hope for. It's just, indifference. Yeah, we need that. But unfortunately, Will does not get that treatment.
No.
He says when he sees possibilities in Mars, he thinks, this is where the title of the episode comes from. He says, what if this is the chance to plant a new tree of knowledge, to start again? Who is to say here, 100 million miles from Earth, what's a sin and what's not? And Danielle brings it back to reality. She says, this is not about God, this is about NASA. If you have a problem, you run it up the chain of command. You just don't blurt it out on national TV like you're on Sally Jesse Raphael, which is she's referencing a daytime talk show that ran from 1983 to 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And then Will says, you have no idea what it's like to live with the secret this entire life, to know that if people found out what you really are. And then so she compares that to, she says, what, they judge you for living in the skin you're born in. So they're comparing the bigotries of racism and homophobia. And so it gets a little he says being gay is different from being black, and she says something a little possibly hurtful. At least you have the luxury of hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show doesn't shy away from uncomfortable stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but I love that her final thing is like, okay, forget about it. Our mission is to create a sustainable base here and survive. So stop thinking about yourself and go fix the fucking thermal control units.
Well, I think she even says, like, it's not our job to, like, rewrite the moral arc of the universe.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very good. That is a good, well-written.
But it is
right,
our
last
job
time.
to fix the aircon.
Yeah.
Exactly. Last time I checked, reconstructing the moral fabric of the universe was not our mission.
Mm-hmm.
So get back to work. So that's definitely the best part. Oops. Oh, thank you, Eugene Bird. I'm still broadcasting the chat. I appreciate the notice. Here, there you go. There's reconstructing the moral fabric. Unfortunately, we didn't really miss much because it was just this dramatic scene going on between Will and Danielle. So nobody missed too much in terms of the slides. So we're good to go. We're back on Helios, and the Russians have found a huge deposit of water, and I guess they're sharing this information with Helios so they can get the help they need to extract this water. And Karen isn't backing down. She wants 50% of this water. And at first they say no, but apparently they don't really have a choice because they don't have any equipment. They're basically, either the Americans or the Helios have to help them. They have really until they're able to send another ship to Mars. They don't have anything. They don't have anything that belongs to them there. So they're beholden to whoever's going to help them. And Major Jill, ground control. That's a good parody song there. You really made the grade, DJ Knight. So there's that. Karen's not backing down from 50%. And that's that. Meanwhile, Kelly, what's going on in this part? Carbon dioxide scrubbers. Oh, okay. I was finding out they're having trouble with the carbon dioxide scrubbers. And Will is working on the thermal control unit, and he's asking his what's the name of the Russian who defected and then he became
Roland.
Roland.
Yeah, Roland Baranov, I think is his name.
Baranov. Okay, I forgot his name. Thank you. For all mankind. I forgot his name, but Will wants his help. They have to drain this fluid, and we had to.
Because they were like best buds before this, and then now that he finds out his friend is gay, he's like, no,
he's straight up homophobic.
Yeah,
he thinks he's gonna get HIV from being in the same
in his presence
vicinity. Just like it's just gonna travel to me in the air or something.
That's typical of the paranoia that existed at the time, actually, and still exists in some places.
Yeah, pretty true.
But I learned it was the 90s when I was a kid, and I learned when I was a kid that you can't, like, they actually put this on TV that you can't get it unless you're having intercourse with another person, and it's just
they told us too. I mean, like, you can't get it unless you're engaging in intimacy, or if you're sharing needles, which you shouldn't be. But
right, sharing needles, that was the other one. Yes, they did. They told us that. So as long as you're not doing drugs or having or being intimate, you're going to be okay. You can it's not something that's transmittable through the air or touch.
Yeah, it's not like the flu
normal
or something.
touch. You're right.
Yeah.
But I mean, if kids can learn that, I don't know why adults have such a hard time with it. And there was Danielle saying they did all the HIV tests and everything. And look at these cool vehicles. I'm going to be right back in just a second.
No problem. So here's a question for you while Jill's not there. If you were offered a space on a flight to Mars, but you'd probably never come back, but there's a colony there, would you take it?
That would be, I think I'd be humbled and flattered by the offer, but unless I could take my entire family with me, I would probably decline.
Okay, what if you could take your entire family with you?
Okay, well, that'd be interesting. Well, if they all agreed to come with me, then I would probably say, yeah, let's go to Mars.
you might be just in time, the way the world's going at the moment. So could be good.
It would be something. What about you? Would you go?
Oh, damn, man. It's that's a tough one. I mean, if a UFO landed and they, like in the last Starfighter, and
Right.
what's his name turned up and said, "We need you to come and fight for the Star League," I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd be off like in a heartbeat. 'Cause I don't have any kids. I don't currently have a partner, and I think if I'm going to go out, saving the universe seems like quite a good way. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's
so
great.
I,
I
I,
mean,
def-
if I
I
was in
def-
that position, I'd do the same.
I'd definitely do that. But Mars sounds quite hard. Sounds like the life out there would be quite hard. Lots to do. Not sure I'd have access to all the things I'd have now. So unless it was a proper established colony, I'm not sure. If it was in the early embryonic stages, and life would be hard, and I'd have to be one of those guys that
Mhm.
works on the lower levels doing a shitty job, then I'd be like, nah, you're all right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Like Miles
I
in
like
season
my
4.
Yeah, I like my creature comforts too. So it would be a big change.
We were saying if you were offered a chance to go to Mars, would you go? Knowing you
Yeah,
might.
no, I think I'm thinking as along the same lines as you in terms of I'd want it to be comfortable already and then not be too tough.
But I
And
did.
I'd have
But
to
I,
bring I'd have to bring my whole family. I
yeah.
do have a family. I can't leave them here.
But I did volunteer to fight against the Zodan Armada for the Star League, so I would do that.
Well, we definitely respect you, and you'd have all my hopes.
As long as Greg is my
Yeah.
co-pilot, then I'd be all right.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well, that's very generous of you.
Maybe there
Greek
is
letter says a new life on another planet. Where do I sign? So that's his answer.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that thing a few years back, Mars One, that went nowhere? That was like they were looking for people. It was like basically a marketing job. It wasn't really like they weren't really going to go to Mars. They were just like trying to generate biz about it.
I vaguely remember that, but there was also an experiment where they were looking for people to live in a simulated Mars colony for like a year or something. I don't know what happened with that. If that actually, I think that went ahead, but it was a bit like that, Pauly Shore film where people were being like smuggled in Mars bars and shit. So people were cheating. So I don't think it was very successful.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I think the one I'm talking about, Mars One, was actually they were selling it as they were going to go to Mars,
right?
But obviously, it was just like some kind of a marketing thing, and it's fascinating. But yeah, no, you're right that there was a sort of simulated Mars thing, and then they were breaking the goals of the mission by like smuggling in like stuff that obviously they wouldn't have any access to. So
which just kind of didn't really.
Oh, okay. It was a small Dutch organization who received money from investors saying that they were going to land the first human on Mars, but I think they went bankrupt or something. That's what it's saying here.
I looked up Mars One, and apparently it says according to the internet, Mars One was a scam.
That's what it looks like.
Budget of $6 billion, which was criticised as too low to transport humans to Mars. Estimated it would need a cost of an additional 100 billion, etc., etc., etc. Never amounted to anything. So a lot of money went somewhere.
Not to mention a space organization. What did they have?
Well, yeah, a big Lego collection. Right. All that's required to reenact space adventures. That's about it.
So Greek letter says, wait. It came to me in Earth. A nuclear conflict will erupt, and the people on Mars will be the last survivors. Tell me I'm right without spoiling the end. That seems like a really dark end. I don't think that's what would happen. But wow.
I mean, that and For All Mankind, that's for sure.
Yeah. Eugene Bird says to Lance, not even getting on a plane, let alone a rocket. Oh.
I've never been on a plane, so
Really? Oh, what do you travel by train?
that's my preferred things. I had a train or a road trip, but eventually there will be a time where I will have to go to places like London or someplace in Australia, and it's going to require either taking a boat or getting over the whatever it is about planes that's keep me from it. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, and it's interesting. I have ridden on an airplane. I haven't ridden on a passenger train yet, except for in theme parks and
hmm,
those little monorails at the airport. Eugene Bird
yeah,
says the question is, who are you taking with you to populate Mars?
hmm. Well, I'll be taking my fiance, but yeah,
Yeah. I've already got all the children I'm going to make, so someone else is going to have to make Martians.
hmm. You're telling my fiance I want 4 kids, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. That has to be a mutual decision.
That's enough to man a mission.
Yeah. No, she has the twin gene, so technically we could get it done in 2 sets. So
Speaking of babies, at what point when did Danny have a baby? She seems to kind of come out of nowhere. I guess it happened within the last couple of years that we've been skipping time and stuff.
oh yeah.
But also he's fresh out of pills.
Hmm.
So he's self-medicating with oxycodone and some other stuff. He's just taking stuff out of the cabinet like it's nobody's business. So I guess that's for him. It's also something else I don't understand what it is. It's I didn't look it up. Dextroamphetamine sulfate. And I'm sure oxycodone is a painkiller, but I don't know what the other one is. But, something he wanted. So they're calling so they're growing food in here. I guess hydroponics bay, but they're calling it the swamp. And they're having sex. So Kelly and Alexi are having super fun times on Mars. And so I don't know. They're worried about the noise, but I guess not so worried about the smell. And the question is, are they making the first Martian baby? And Kelly tells him he can't let Ed know. And he can't tell her what the Helios and Russians are planning with their joint venture. So they both have to whatever. So Ed makes it to the NASA habitat. He's bearing gifts. He's got carbon dioxide scrubbers, and he's got some extra food and drinks, including some beer. He's got some Shiner Bock. We got some soda, some Pepsi, some chips. But also, aside from junk food, he also had some real meals. So it's kind of like a Thanksgiving.
Yeah. First Martian Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. That's what they say. Goat cheese, garlic toast. I've never had goat cheese. Marinated rack of lamb with mint vinaigrette.
Now you're making me hungry.
I'm just reading the screen at this point because I don't have a lot to say. They're also taking shots of vodka, so it's like it's a party. They're having a party.
Yeah, the one thing that Russians made sure they had lots of was vodka. No surprise there.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
I feel that's very accurate. And that would definitely be the one thing that would survive any mission of Russians would be the vodka.
Yeah, the vodka will be
Right.
safe.
Right. Right. When they're evacuating, they're like, forget everything else, save the vodka.
Hmm.
And so President Wilson is watching Will coming out during his interview back to Earth. And he's talking about how he was bullied and there were days he didn't want to go on, like the world was better off without him. But he did go on. And now here he is. He's the first gay man on Mars. So if you're a kid out there that feels like maybe you're broken somehow, like the world would be better off without you in it, I promise that it's the world that's broken, not you. Now, I know there's probably going to be a lot of people that are mad at me for saying this, but I don't know. I just feel like if somebody like me doesn't say it, who will? What's the point of sending people all the way out here if we can't look back on our own world and see it for what it could be?
Mm.
And so,
Yeah, could do with a bit of that going on in the world right now.
right,
It's a good message.
Yeah.
it is a very, it feels like a Star Trek message.
Yeah. Yeah, the Star Trek message is in desperate need presently on Earth, for sure.
It is. In our reality, even
Yeah.
more so.
Very much so.
And so she is seeming to be touched for that. Will she stand up for Will? I don't know, but Larry has an idea of what to do next. And so he decides that he comes up with something like the don't ask, don't tell, but they call it something different. In our timeline, that was we got that in 1993 from Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's happening. Similarly, in this alternate reality. And so it'll piss off both sides. So they're so excited about this. Good work. Then Sergey on purpose knocks over Margot's drink, and so to have an excuse to leave. And it turns out he left her an equation to share with her what's going on between Helios and Russia, and she figures out that they know about the water.
Mm.
And and Elena's getting really paranoid about the Russians being at NASA. And it looks like, oh, right, the iPod. The iPod was released in 1995, so there it is. Oh, gotta press play. There's the iPod playing some music for the party. And meanwhile, it looks like the Russians are trying to dehydrate the Americans with vodka. But then, of course, there's Will. He's taking a drink from the vodka, and so the Russian astronaut, what's his name again?
It's a Roland.
He won't. Huh?
Which one, Roland?
Yeah, Roland. Roland won't drink from Will's vodka because Will just drink from it. And instead of admitting his homophobia, he turns it on Will and says, "Well, you've been lying to me this whole time." And they get into kind of a violent confrontation, although it doesn't seem like anyone gets too seriously injured, but all of this commotion gives Danielle the chance to confront the Russians and Ed about the water they've been hiding, because she got a call from Elena, who told her all about the liquid water that's underground. And so I guess that's so just like any Thanksgiving party, you get into a little fight with your family. So here it is.
So it really is Thanksgiving on Mars.
They got it right. But you know why Kelly is super excited that there's water underground is because her main goal, of course, is to find life.
Mm.
And that's what gets her going. She's not even mad.
As we know from Arrakis, water is life. They are.
Mm-hmm. The water of life.
And she has experience with searching for that life in inhospitable places, so she wants to be part of the crew who look at the samples. Because she found life under a glacier in Antarctica, so she wants to find life on Mars, which is also something that we usually do. We usually send rovers up there to study samples, but there's nothing like actual humans exploring to actually find stuff. So, oh no. Well, of course, we had to come back to Danny seeing another message. So he's still hacking, knowing the password. He's not really hacking. He just knows the password. So he's watching the message between Ed and Karen about that Ed is worried about Danny. And he wondered if it was a mistake to bring him up here. That Danielle was right after all along. That Danny wasn't ready for this. And well, oh, there was also something else here. I was looking at a computer mouse in this scene. Yeah, that one. I have that mouse somewhere in my house. I don't know where it is. It's like one of my backup mouses. I use a mouse with the ball that instead of moving your mouse around, the ball moves the cursor for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one of those. That one's like my really old backup that I hardly ever use. Oops. And so back at the White House, Wilson passes her version of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, calling it the Uniform First Act in this universe.
The unicorn.
Uniform.
Unicorn.
Excuse
I
me.
you
Did
said
I say
unicorn. I thought you said
I
unicorn.
didn't. Unicorn. I
Yeah.
meant to say uniform first.
Yeah. Uniform first.
By mistake. You know what?
Unicorn first.
It's because I'm reviewing Harry Potter and maybe I'm just thinking too much about unicorns. I have no idea what happened there.
Honestly, it's safe.
Yeah. Huh.
Uniform first, where you don't have to ask and you don't have to tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, right, and so she wanted to get rid of those investigations. Like she had to go through being interrogated for her sexuality and being like they can see the signs all they like, but as long as the person doesn't admit to it, then it's not then nobody's going to worry about it. It's
Right.
it's a step. It's something. It's not much, but it's something. And but Will is still going to be disarmed. There's nothing they can do for him. And Will's looking at Mars again, of course. And Larry's boyfriend is talking to the wrong person. Oh God. And so that's gonna be a thing. Apparently they used the Oval Office for some fun times for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, Ellen's gonna have a lot of work to do in the next few episodes. She has to deal with with something similar happening to Mars. She's going to have to deal with her vice president. I mean, not her vice president, her the first gentleman being outed. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to make whatever's going on with Will, they're going to forget all about Will.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, they're going to be,
also,
yeah.
I
was just saying that pretty much they're going to be finding gays everywhere. It's going to be like, who isn't?
Yeah. And then she also has to deal with Margot helping the Russians. So whenever that comes out, that's going to be another thing she has to deal with. And then she has to deal with all of the deaths that have happened to get to Mars. I guess she's already had the funeral for that, but it's still a thing. And that oh right, and that I don't know if it matters. Kelly's in an intimate relationship with the Russian cosmonaut. I don't know if that's anything that Wilson will have to worry about at any point. Probably not, I guess.
I mean, maybe not the relationship itself, but maybe something that comes of the relationship. But
yeah, see, that's I knew it.
I'm saying nothing.
I'm not saying anything either. I'm just kind of throwing something out there as something to think about.
Well, I mean, you see a couple of people doing that, and you instantly think, is she on birth control?
I mean,
and then
oh yeah, that's when the two people have a bit of Hooray Henry in the Mars situation.
Yeah, they do in the habitat in where they're trying to grow food. So sanitary.
Oh yeah, space baby coming, maybe, maybe baby.
Yes. I think it's telegraphed pretty well, so it's not a huge spoiler for me because I can already see it.
Well, it's a thread that they're, establishing here, and then we'll see where they ultimately go with it. But yeah,
Mars doesn't have a force field. What's the best solution for residents? Heavy anti-radiation fortification or underground bunker? Oh,
force
that's
field.
a good
You mean
point.
magnetic field?
Oh, magnetosphere? Yeah, Mars doesn't have that.
I mean, it's not. It has one, but it's very, very weak, and that's it's not a good. It's not good enough for, like, if you were walking out on Mars, without a spacesuit, you would definitely not have fun. Thanks to there not being enough protection from the UV that you get from Earth. So
that is a good question. Do they have enough protection on Mars against the radiation? Are the spacesuits and the habitats that they're in enough to protect them from most of the dangerous radiation?
Well, I think beyond that, I think if we're going to talk about protection, we need to talk about Alexia and Kelly, but it's a different conversation.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Eugene Bird says, excellent question, Greek letters. Even a strong artificial magnetic field would have to reach up 100 kilometers to deflect charged particles from the sun. Sunscreen for UV light, though. And so yeah, what's the sunscreen for other radiation? James Caserta says the observer effect may change everything. And Greek letter says an underground bunker. That way you can also deal with the Martian sandstorms. Unicorns in Mars? Approved. Maybe Jill can be flying to Mars. So, well, I don't have a spaceship. That's like one of the things you need.
Not yet.
No, not yet, anyway. That's what this whole live stream was all about. I'm starting a space program. Eugene Bird says, "Do you think JFK was first, or someone beat him to it?" Goddess of Mars. No, I think that the title is. Well, I don't know. Well, in order to, I have to get to Mars first in order to be the queen of it. So we'll see.
I'll see if I can put a good word in with the people at the Edgar Rice Burroughs thing. Because
Oh,
they're doing
right.
the John Carter of Mars thing. So
That's what I thought of too, was Princess of Mars.
yeah, so we'll see.
If it's that universe, all I have to do is go out and just wish really super hard that I'm on Mars, and I'll be there. So I don't even need this. I don't even need the spaceship.
Very true.
So the episodes for next week are going to be episode 7 and episode 8. So episode 7 is called Bring It Down, where a joint mission brings about conflict between crew members, and episode 8 is going to be The Sand of Ares, where after a sudden crisis, the Martian crews pull together. Ooh, very vague.
That's
Synopses.
the one with the big Martian alien in it.
Kelly finds Martians. Yes.
I might be joking.
Excited.
I'm going to play along with Lance's game. Yeah.
I can't wait. Well, they've got their Martian. Well, did they bring any? They didn't bring any Marines with their space Marines with them, did they?
Yeah.
They gotta be ready for those aliens.
No, it's not that kind of alien. Haven't you seen Mission to Mars?
I haven't.
Mission to Mars is great.
Yeah, it is a good film, but God, the music, which is Ennio Morricone, if I remember rightly, doesn't half oversaturate the movie. It's almost like the music is a bit too big, I found, in some scenes. I did see it at the cinema, in a massive cinema as well.
Yeah.
I just felt like the film was almost drowned by the music occasionally.
I guess I could see that.
Good though the score was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think back in 2000, there was 2 dueling Mars movies for whatever reason. It was
Red
Mission,
Mars, was it?
Yeah, Red Planet, and then
Red Planet.
Mission to Mars.
Yeah, Red Planet.
Red Planet. I don't like
Red Planet.
Yeah, I don't like Red Planet, but one of my cousins thought I liked Red Planet for some reason. They were trying to give me the DVD when our grandma passed away. So he's like, "Yeah, you could take it." And I'm like, "But I don't like that movie. I mean, I appreciate you trying to give me something to my grandma's, but it's like, you have it. If she had Mission to Mars, I'll take it."
Well, I haven't seen either of those, but there's so many things I need to see. I need to make. I have to have priorities.
Well, you have time. Next. No rush.
I have some time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, DJ Knight. Thank you, Eugene Bird, for the super sticker earlier, and thanks Greek Letters for the good conversation. And James Caserta, the planet of man babies. Although, I guess the astronauts were a little bit childish in this episode, not just with the space race, like, oh, I'm going to be first, even though, it should be, let's get there safely and make sure everybody's good. But, there's always going to be that competition that humanity's going to have. That's going to sometimes overshadow everything because, as they say,
give me 2 secs. I'm just running to the kitchen.
Risk is our business.
Oh, for sure. I'm just thanking the chat that we had here today. I appreciate anyone who came out to talk to me about this show. Gavin Blackburn, did I say hi to you? I'm so sorry if I didn't. I I don't think I saw you. Death Blossom Now. Is that what? Oh, a hippo with a mechanical arm. Yes. Yeah, so we
Death
played.
Blossom now. They're talking about the last Starfighter.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I did say hi to you, Gavin. I don't know why I'm thinking I didn't. And then of course Note of Proof is Cuber was here too. We had a spam in Twitch that I'm not gonna highlight. That was fun. DJ Knight. And Pat Wannabe was here for a bit too. And Lemon Pie. And DJ Play Nice says, "You rock. Thanks for hosting." Thank you so much, DJ Play Nice. You're the first in the chat too. Yes, hello. Good to properly say hello to you, Gavin. Definitely. I do try to be a good friend. Thank you, DJ Knight. You're a good friend too. Thanks for working.
I'm
That's
back.
good news.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm just
doing my dinner in the oven. I know we're about to wrap up, but
oh yeah, we're about to wrap up. I was just giving the chat a little attention because they decided to come out here and talk to me, so I wanted to
yeah, I'm
thank them for being here.
I'm almost at 5,000 subs now.
5,000, that's amazing.
Yeah, I hit 4K 2 weeks ago, and then I did a 4K celebration stream, and on that stream I hit 4,300, and then
Wow.
a few days later I hit 4,600. So I'm coming up.
Well done.
I'm coming up to 4.7 now.
Yeah, I just hit 60. I'm hoping I can get to 4,000 soon too.
Well, having Gail and Hurd come on your channel definitely helps.
I bet, yeah.
I had a big spike from that, and I think.
Well, also you have the critical drinkers show up on occasion too.
Yeah, Drinker gave me a really good. I was on Open Bar when we were talking about the worst battle in television history ever to be filmed.
Game of Thrones?
No, worse than that one. Rings of Power, end of season 2.
Oh,
it's just so disappointing. And I really thought actually that the battle was, because they spent a lot of money on the show. I thought, well, we're probably going to get a pretty good action sequence at the end of this season. And if you watch it, it's beyond embarrassing. It's so bad. Nothing in it makes any sense. Nothing in it makes any dramatic sense at all.
Can't think of anything worse than the Game of Thrones one, because that one was in almost pitch darkness. So this is worse than that.
Yeah, that was pitch darkness, and also again tactically made no sense. You would not send your cavalry, which is your mobile force, into the dark to attack an enemy that you cannot see and don't know the size of it. Just whether they've got fiery swords or not. A completely ridiculous thing to do. You would keep them. They would be the last thing you would use. You would wait for them to attack the castle, and then you would run them through them. So
at some point I got to watch Game of Thrones. I've never seen it.
It's I mean, it's the first 5 seasons are great, and then sort of it's a bit of a sliding scale, but the last season is just a bit of a travesty, really.
It gets slightly goofy in season 6, and then it starts going off the rails after that.
Yeah, so the two guys were in a rush to go off and make Star Wars, which they actually then never ended up doing it. And
that's a joke.
The actors were in a rush to get out of their contracts, so everybody was like, "Okay, fine, we'll cut down the number of episodes," and that was a really bad idea because everything felt truncated, and it was just, you got some very bad decisions as a result. It's everybody knows what went wrong with that show. No one wants to admit it, but that's what happened. So that's sad reality.
Well, and when Amelia Clark was cornered, she's like, best season ever.
Yeah. Oh, let's not go there. Anyway.
No.
For All Mankind is good. For All Mankind
is good.
Yeah. For All Mankind, it's very good.
But I know, and you're telling me that there's something worse than that, and it was Rings of Power.
Rings of Power, yeah. Do you know what? I haven't even watched the last episode because just like episode 7 just destroyed it for me, and I just thought, I'm not even going to watch the last episode because now I just don't care about what happens to anybody on the show. So
I didn't even make it past episode 2 of season 1, so you made it much further than
I
I did. So well done.
I tried. I gave it, I gave it a chance, and I was trying to be positive. If you watch my reviews of season 2, I'm always at the beginning. I always say, okay, let's talk about what was good about this episode. That's normally quite a short conversation, but I do always start with the positives. I tried to do that with the Acolyte as well, but hey, I gave it a chance.
Oh, I haven't seen either one, the Acolyte or the other.
No, so yeah, but
Trying.
Can I talk about something I got coming up? Oh
yes, in fact, I was just about to ask you.
I've suddenly
what's
been
going
thrust
on?
into the
spotlight.
The big. Put him on screen. You know what? That's what you should say when you do that. You should say, "Put him on screen."
Yeah,
well, actually, I was going to share an image with you. So, the book that I told you I was.
You can do that too. I'll share that.
This is an image of my favorite cinema of all time, which is known as the Empire Screen 1. Sadly, it no longer exists. It's now an IMAX, and it's about half that capacity. But in this screen, the very first film I saw here was Top Gun. I also saw E.T. on re-release. I also, you're going to love this, Jill, I also saw an all-dayer of Star Trek 1 through 6 here. I also saw the opening night of Star Trek 4 here. I saw the opening night of The Undiscovered Country here. It was an amazing screen. And if you look up at Empire Screen 1 laser show on YouTube, they used to do a laser show before each performance. That started with the reopening of it when they showed Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Anyway, the book that I'm writing at the minute is the working title, which is not the final title. It's something like Cinematic Tapestry, 100 films that define my life. And it's about 100 movies that I've seen, but it's not about the film so much. It's about where I saw the movie, who I saw it with, what the cinema was like that I saw it in, what impact the film had on me immediately, and what impact it had on me going forward. So at the minute I'm working my way. I've done about the first 15 or 20 films, and by the time I get to the end of the may well have more than 100 movies in it, because the list of movies that I want to talk about is pretty big. But they're also all connected to like different things in my life that were happening at the time. So it's kind of like almost like this cinematic journal of, how those films kind of shaped my life. So I'm hoping that that's going to be available for people to buy by December 1st, which is why I've been working very hard. And the Empire Screen 1, which is that cinema, probably features in the book more than any other cinema.
That's a wonderful idea for a book, because those experiences are going to be unique and to you.
I didn't want to sort of, just do a book where I talk about Star Wars and then, all the stuff I write about it, you can look up on Wikipedia. Do you know what I mean? So it's more kind of, and I've just done Star Wars today. I've just done Star Wars. I've done Jaws, Kelly's Heroes, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Mysterious Island, The Spy Who Loved Me. Those are all the films I wrote out today. And the Spy Who Loved Me, I've been to see that film 6 times in the last 4 years. And I've been with different people at different times and taken their kids to make sure that they got to see that film on the big screen. Because one of the things I say in the introduction is you can only see a film for the first time once. So how you see it, where you see it, is actually really quite important. It massively impacts the impact of that film on you, all those other things, not just the film itself. Because if you watched Towering Inferno on the opening night in London's Leicester Square premiere, which my parents got to go to because my dad worked on the marketing for that film, that's very different from watching it at home on Boxing Day 5 years later with Granddad farting in the armchair, next to the television. So it's two very different experiences of the first time of watching that movie.
Right, and when you're at home, you can pause it or you can get up and
Sure.
There's interruptions in a movie theater. You're kind of trapped, and
And I mean,
being trapped is it's good in a good way.
some of these films I did see for the first time on TV. I wasn't alive when Mysterious Island first came out, but that film still had a huge impact on me, so I saw it like on Sunday afternoon on the television in the lounge. So I still list films that I saw on TV that I saw for the first time when I was a kid. There's including Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I wasn't alive when that came out. So that was New Year's Day, 1977. And I've found these websites that actually list all the British television listings for the 1970s and 80s. So I've been able to pinpoint exactly when I saw things like Kelly's Heroes for the first time and stuff like that. So that's helped me kind of make the narrative quite cohesive. It's going to be quite a good book, I think.
Good. Oh, nice. Yeah,
So I'm
that's really
working
great.
on-
You could build that timeline.
Working on that, and I've got a few cool guests coming, and the best of which is, not the best, but the coolest of which is Cindy Pickett, who played Ferris Bueller's mother in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and she's been in absolutely loads of things, and is still working now. So she's going to be a great guest. And I've got 2 authors coming on Thursday who are young authors, relatively unknowns, who I put out the call for people creatives to get in touch with me. I will interview you on my channel. I will plug your creative wares, and people have been getting in touch with me. So I've got quite a few of them scheduled. I've done one already, did a comic book guy a couple of days ago, and I've got these 2 authors coming on Thursday. So yeah.
Authors on Thursday. Awesome. Well, that's great. You're getting all sorts of creative people on your channel, and that's wonderful. And that you're interviewing
supporting creatives is what my channel's all about. Supporting those outcast creators, basically.
And I'll be supporting you by hopefully purchasing that book on December 1st.
Thanks, man. Do send me a picture of you holding it, if that's I'm hoping I can get it out in time. It's going to be a bit of a struggle, but
I don't know what the shipping thing will be, but
fingers crossed.
Well, you're almost done with it, right?
There are 11 chapters. I'm on chapter 3, and I've nearly finished it. So I've only got the films from 1980 to 2024 to cover.
Oh, okay. Not too long. Just
I've got a lot of it. I've got a lot of it mapped out with notes and things. So we'll I know which films I'm going to be talking about, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight on time to get it out in time.
And let's see. And we've also got Phil from Fleet Admiral Levi, his YouTube channel, and also his Twitter at the Phil1. So can you tell us what you're up to lately and anything you want to share before we go?
Yeah, sure. So my channel is the Fleet Admiral Levi channel, and we explore science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And occasionally I present some creative works I'm trying to do. Sometimes it's novels, sometimes it'll be scripts. This month is horror month because it's the month of October, so we're celebrating Halloween and the genre of horror. And on Friday we'll be exploring analog horror, and then the week after that we'll be diving into the works of Stephen King, and then the week after that we're going to dive into a novel I've been working on called Cherryfield, and I hope that that'll be good. And then next month will be fantasy month, where we'll be kind of exploring the genre of fantasy, where we'll go into Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Arthurian legends, and Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I've recently discovered the animated show, and I became a fan of. So I'm looking forward to all that. And join us if you like.
Great stuff.
Awesome. And then as for me, actually, I'm covering Harry Potter right now every Friday. I'm going through one of the movies every Friday. I'm on the Order of the Phoenix right now, and I got to the point where, I guess the last live stream, where I'm also listening to the entire audiobook. So got into that and can't avoid it. Kind of like those pills that Danny can't avoid. I kind of have to listen, and so I'm enjoying it immensely.
It's great.
And so that's the yeah. But there's something unfortunate about it though. I do have my For All Mankind's every Tuesday, my episode reviews there, but unfortunately this Friday I cannot stream. I've got fun family stuff to do. So I have to move my Harry Potter stream to Thursday. So I'm gonna review that on Thursday at 11 a.m. Central, same time, just different day. And it'll be fun. Oh, okay. Thanks. Yes. And just as a final thing, Eugene wanted to say the film I saw the most in theaters was Something Borrowed. The actress Jennifer Goodwin plays such a sweethearted woman, not antagonistic at all. He saw it 9 times in the theater. So he really enjoyed that movie. I've never even seen it once.
Yeah, heard of it, never seen it.
Mhm. And DJ Knight is hoping that I do another collaboration with Retro Nerd Girl soon. Of course, I want to.
Yeah, great. Love Retro.
I love her too, and I don't want to over invite her. I don't want to I don't know, but I will invite her again, and we always make plans for stuff.
Did I tell you that my AI app has now heard of your channel?
No, that's terrifying. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, it's true. I could demonstrate right now if you want. Maybe you might want to wait until we're off the air. But
okay.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I could put it on right now and say, "Tell me about the anti-derivative Jill channel," and it'll waffle on about your channel.
Oh no.
Because I've asked it about different people, different things, and what I've realised is if you've hit a certain level of notoriety on YouTube, the AI apps all know who you are. So so it's a compliment. I think I guess it's a good thing in a way. But yeah, it is.
You've made it, Jill. You've made it.
So yeah, I asked it when I was in the kitchen earlier. I remember to ask it, and its reply was, "Yes, I've heard of the YouTube channel called Anti-Derivative Jill. It seems to be a channel that focuses on various topics, including Star Trek reviews and appearances on other YouTube shows. Is this a channel you enjoy watching, Lance?" That's what she asked me.
Oh, well, I love that it says appearances on other YouTube shows because I do try to highlight other people on my channel, and I'm glad that's showing through somehow.
Yeah, I'm getting people all the time.
Mm-hmm. But as for this particular broadcast, I think we're ready to go, and so everybody have a fantastic Tuesday. I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah. See you later.
Okay. See you guys.
Thanks for being awesome.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
Goodbye, Steve.
Emma.